Don't any yells, that's good. It's not the kind of stuff, yeah! That's not what I want in here. So the last thing before we get started is make sure we're sensitive to the amount that you should be feeling. So a lot of times with fitness people, we like to suffer. So we get on the roller, you're like, oh, I should feel awful. And just what you feel, where are those areas that feel the most sensitive? Pay attention to what you feel. Start to notice where they are. Going back, and then forward. And now find one of your tender areas. Drop your heel to the floor. Now start to drop your toes. This is the pin and move. So drop your toes, lift your toes. Drop your toes, lift your toes. Starting to see some squinting and grimacing and a little bit of, not quite lemon face, which is good, but I'm seeing some facial recognition of what we're feeling. So drop the toes, lift the toes one more time. We don't really do a pin and spin here, but let's do a cross fiber friction. So we'll just roll slowly as you can. You might want to take some weight off, so put some weight into the leg that's not on the ball. Then we slide back and forth. Extra credit for those of you that can do this and stay balanced and video me while you're doing this. Because you're like rolling on a ball and videoing successfully, so congratulations. I know I'm supposed to tell you not to video stuff, but I don't mind sharing it. Okay. 5 times back and forth, and let's recheck. Just on the back of your arm. Well, guess what? We all have it. Just keep your muscle uncontracted. Some people actually have some there, but you can always make it look like you have, oh no, I'm getting out of shape. Same thing in my calf. Oh no, look how fat I'm getting. So we're starting right here, back and forth. So we're going to roll 5 times to find your tender spot, if you have one. Perfect world, you don't. Back and forth, so number 2, comes number 3, up, down. Find your tender area. If you don't have one that's massively tender, just find the most tender spot along that. Once you've found that, we go to a pin and spin. So this is where you push and spin. Now this works really well with something like a lacrosse ball or a harder rubber ball, because the rubber grabs your skin. Okay, it actually holds your skin, so you get a bit of a better twist. But it's always easy to locate a bunch of tennis balls in anyone's life. So we like to show this with tennis balls because it's more practical. So get about 5 of these, push and spin. And that's our medial shin. So you see, we got a roll and hold, pin and move, pin and spin. I didn't show you pin and move because we need a little bit of support for that. The way that would work, you can take something like a yoga block or even your shoe, anything that will give your foot a lift so that I can move without my foot on the ground. And I'm also able to just keep my leg fully relaxed. So I can go here, and you can also prop it up on the roller. If you have the hip mobility already to do this, and some people's hips won't allow them to do that. But hopefully we can do that and also get the knee to the floor, because I want to be able to push and have it feel comfortable where I've got a solid base to push against. So I elevate the ankle a little bit to do the pin and move. So I go back to my tender spot. I might have to do a couple rolls to reestablish where it is. And then I push and hold the pressure. And now I do the pin and move part. Ooh, it just got more sensitive for me. But not lemon face sensitive. I was going to leave the music on low, but I think it's more fun to leave it off, because then if you guys start grunting, I get to hear it. It's really special. Some of the most fun is when I've done a session like this and there's 100, 120 people in the room and you start, it's like, I'm glad this isn't my first time doing it, because I'm thinking, God, they're having a terrible experience. Just based on the audience faces, this would be a terrible session. Okay, so there's our 3 different strategies. So when you see your hand out, just try to make this really practical so you have some chance of remembering everything, because I've been where you are for years. So I try to make things as helpful as possible, because I know how much of a sacrifice of time and money it is to come to these events, and I'm always going to do my best to make sure you get your money's worth. So you're going to see your handout looks exactly like this. Just copy and paste in the handout, exactly. You're going to see roll and hold, pin and move, pin and spin. You're going to see which techniques we tend to use after each massage. Okay, next is calf massage, roller on the ball. Roller or ball on roller. That's a typo. It's supposed to be, actually, no it's not. It's either to use just the roller or the ball on the roller. So sometimes I take these things at what would be 3 a.m. at home on an airplane and, Now, if you have a really sensitive calf, we use a roller. Bigger surface area means less depth of pressure. If I start doing this, or this, I get a smaller surface area, deeper pressure, more discomfort. So if your calf is really painful right now, then you're good. All we need you to do is just roll back and forth. So we'll do this a couple different times. Roll back and forth and explore looking for the sensitive areas. Now we'll just cover a little more ground. We'll just kind of go the whole length of the calf. Sometimes with the calf, I like to work in smaller sections, especially if there's a lot of sensitivity. We kind of hover around a little small area, maybe that big, and then we work on that, and then move up to the next one. But since we're just kind of limited to an hour, we can lift and lower the foot. I'm trying to teach this with you as I would teach it to people. I don't feel the need to overuse technical terms like plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, even though you know it. I mean, just lift the foot, drop the foot. Because we tend to want to, show our clients how smart we are by confusing them with words they don't understand. And I don't think that's necessary. Fitness is confusing enough for them. Despite our best efforts to bring clarity, they insist on staying confused. I can also roll my foot like this, and I can go the other direction. This is the spot I was working on. Just turning circles in the ankle. There we go. Uh-oh, it says cross fiber. Now, if it's a lot for you, just maybe go back here, try the cross fiber, and just kind of roll, kind of internally and externally rotate your leg. If you want the ball, just try to go slowly so you can tell when it's about to get nasty, because you're going to, these little spots will make you go, oh. Interesting thing from last night, if you did see me at the party, I got changed in the presenter's room. I didn't even look in a mirror. I mean, I'm a massage ball that's maybe more that big. But the idea, if you do have some irritation in the higher parts of the calf muscle, this will typically work better on the outer part of the calf, so right back about like the outer section of the upper calf, right here. And so we lie back, let's take the ball in there with my leg straight, and then I'm going to close my knee joint around the ball. So I'm locking it in place. Now I can use my other leg to push down to close that up, and that's where I get my figure 4 position from. Okay? Now I'm going to put pressure. I'm also trying to get the ball to stay in place. A little tennis ball likes to pop out. A bigger massage ball, you'll put enough pressure on that it'll hold it in place. So I get my pressure on, and now I would just do a pin and move. You okay there? Got a little noise. Whoop. Surprisingly, some of you are impressive. You're still taking video. I'm going to hire some of you to take video of some of my sessions. You're just not letting the camera drop. It's impressive commitment to filming. Oh, turn the ankle both directions, move it around, nice pin and move. Okay, next up is our figure 4. Shin, I'm going to show you the ball first. So now we're working the shin. Hey, we're doing stuff for the shin, finally. Leg training for most people is butt, hamstrings, quads, calves, butt, hamstrings, quads, calves. We got this too, and it works really well with this guy, the calf, the shin, little force couple, they work together. It's like a bicep, tricep. So we need to make sure this is healthy too. We want to massage it. So the easy option, the easiest option, is to just use your hand for pressure. Roll and hold. Some of you probably need more pressure than that. Easy way to do this is put the ball on the floor, bend your leg. So kind of work in the outer part of the shin anyway, because that's where the meaty part is, that's where the muscle is. And I can just push my knee to get my pressure. So I just push my knee to get my pressure. Now these tennis balls are nice and old, so they're soft and they give a lot. If you had a proper massage ball, it'll probably give you a little bit more of a response, or a newer tennis ball will work really well. And if you still need more pressure, you feel like, oh, I'm starting to feel like this is a good area. So it's hard to do a bit of roll and hold here. You can, but you kind of have to lift your own foot up and move. But you kind of find the tender spot pretty quickly. And then you just kind of pin and move. Remember, we had your ankle up. You can even put your hand underneath if you need to make a prop for your ankle. Put the weight on it, boom, and then just kind of do a pin and move if you want. A little trickier to do it that way. But then I can get the benefit of pin and move. You can either stay there, or if you need more, come up to the roller. Outer shin goes on the roller. I cross the leg over. So I do this. I get the figure 4 position, gives me more pressure. So I put my back leg to push down the shin. So it's my body weight plus this top leg pushing down on the bottom leg. Now I've got the right pressure, kind of pressure on you. I'm like my body really only responds to really deep pressure. So that's just how I've learned my body works. And we all have to do what's best for each of us as individuals. So if you get on this thing and your shin goes stop, then stop. Deb's like, yeah, that's not for me. Okay, so now, let's get up again. We just worked your entire left leg. We did a little bit of work on the bottom of your foot. We had this near magical transformation in your hip mobility. So let's see what we feel now. We worked an entire leg. Probably put your hand right to the floor. So just bend over. Don't worry about where you're bending from, because the tissues will just let you know where you feel most mobile. Pretty remarkable. I mean, even for me, I have fairly decent mobility. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I do tend to spend a little time working on it, but I'm active enough and doing full range of motion exercises. I don't need to do a lot of separate mobility work. However, when I did this first, when we were doing the test together, I kind of felt like my body had enough and my fingers were just touching the front of my big toes. I kind of went down, it was like my hands went to the floor almost flat before my body stopped. And that's just from working one leg. It's pretty neat. So it should be a big aha moment for your clients. They're like, oh, I gotta do this. But you feel it right away. You feel the improvement right away, and it really helps. So let's switch to your right leg. Back to the foot. Going on an arch. Now we'll go a little faster because you got the techniques. So remember, I didn't say we're rolling faster. We're just going to go through the math now. If I do this with someone that has poor hip mobility already, and they can't even get here, we have to start down here, cross over, and then they kind of start bending that bottom leg to get into position. It already starts to feel like they're getting a stretch here. So we do the traditional roll and hold. You roll back and forth. This is the way you're used to doing this. This is the thing that most people have already done. You already may be feeling some hello to your glutes. But now we're going to add the pin and move. So we're going back and forth a few times to find your tender spot. So find a tender spot, stay on it. Grab that knee. I like doing this passively. I could do it actively, but if I do this, I'm actually activating a muscle. So passively, I grab my leg, I pull, and I push. I'm staying in the same spot, not moving on the roller. I'm actually doing a pin and move. Now we're going to do cross fiber because we usually roll this way in the direction of the muscle. It's hard to go in the actual direction of the muscle because the glute's more of a fan-shaped muscle, so that the direction of the fibers changes based on where we are. But in general, if we normally roll this way, we're going to do a cross fiber perpendicular to that. And what that's going to mean is I'm going to stay in one spot, I'm going to roll, bringing my chest closer to the ceiling, and then I'm going to roll, bringing my chest closer to sideways. And it should get pretty interesting pretty quickly. You begin to get, oh, listen for the noises now. Too bad the sounds won't show up on camera. Like when they make noise, they won't show up on camera, unfortunately, but. Okay. Little cross fiber movement on the roller. Is it glute ball next? Yes, it is. Okay. So we move to the ball. Put it right in your butt cheek. Push on the ball. You don't sit on the ball. Do you not have a ball? Oh, I thought you were asking me to throw you the ball. She has a question. Okay.
Like trying to be strong on the upper body. Doing this, you might not be able to.
Yes. Okay. Her question was about clients that are not strong in the upper body. That's a fantastic observation because it's a real thing. It's a real problem. We have all this stuff. I mean, I've gotten tired when I've needed to do a lot of work on my lower body and I'm doing everything and I'm like this and I'm like this and I'm like this and I'm starting like my shoulders are getting tired. So certainly anything we can do to make that better is going to help them. And One way to do that is to actually do this next exercise instead of this. So if this is just too much upper body work first, okay, we use the ball. We don't sit on the ball, we lean on the ball. Sitting on it is I'm up here sitting on the ball. No, we lean on it. So I still have both of my tailbones, or both of my sit bones on the floor. And I just bend my knee, and I do a pin and move. I know where my tender spot was from the roller. She's got it already. Whoa. Making all the ladies throw their heads back today. This is fantastic. So I was in Jonathan's session, oh my gosh. And we rolled in the open and then closed. And this should work, because I could sit here, I could even sit like this, and I don't have a lot of weight in my hands. So good time to bring that up. Now with this softer tennis ball, again, you may not be feeling enough pressure, but if your glutes have been hammered the last 2 days, you probably are feeling enough pressure. So there's a pin and move ball. Glute medius the ball. This will probably not feel good, because it's an area that gets a lot of work in our workouts, but it doesn't get a lot of work in our self-massage and maintenance. So it's the outer part of the hip. So I'm going to put the ball right here. So I was just in here, now I'm going right here. So it's okay to look, boom, right there. I'm going to lie down on the floor. And this is when we're going to be really glad we have a nice soft old tennis ball. You're looking for head support? You can maintain cervical neutral by putting the roller under your head, or you can fold your bottom hand and just rest your head here. Oh, there it is. I should turn the mic off for this one. Okay, the hard part about, let's work it out. Jonathan's here for you. We're all going through this together. Now, the pin and move part comes in. We're going to take your bottom leg, the one that's on the roller, and start to just bend your knee. Bring it up. There's the magic. Do not let this affect your rating of the session. Surprising how sensitive that is. I promise you, if you do this again tomorrow, you will be fairly impressed by how less sensitive this is. And this always feels pretty bad for me by the time I get to a conference, because it usually means I've been on an airplane. Even if it's in the United States, I've been on an airplane for at least a few hours, in an airport for a few hours, and even a short flight is a lot of sitting, not a lot of moving. And things get really restricted. Especially when you're starting to become what I like to call chronologically advanced, like I am. Just think about that one for a second. Okay, there's a pin and move for glute medius. And you're thinking, I'm glad that's over, but then you do have another side to your hip, so don't forget that. Okay, next we're going to work on, this is actually both sides. We're going to do that side in a moment, because you need a psychological break from that glute medius. So we're doing the double inner quad roll. This one's kind of a neat story behind this one. I came up with this one completely by accident. I was actually working on developing some self-massage sessions for content for conferences, and I was at home, lying on the floor with my paper, taking notes on some ideas. I was trying to create some new things, and I was lying down like this. And I was taking some notes and writing down some stuff and thinking, and I kind of started going, I was thinking, and I started kind of moving a little bit. I went, wait a minute, that feels good. Think of a baby crawling across the ground. So we're going to start with the roller just above your knees. You're in a prone position in what would be an elbow plank. Start with the roller just above your knees. And so when I roll to one side, the leg you roll toward gets straighter, the leg you're rolling away from, just let it naturally bend at the knee. So what's happening is I'm getting a little bit of outer thigh massage on the leg I'm rolling into, and a little inner thigh massage or inner quad massage on the leg I'm rolling away from. And then just roll back and forth. And now you're finding out why it's called crawling baby, not just because it looks like crawling baby, but because it also sounds like crawling baby. Actually sounds like crying baby. But it looks like crawling baby, so that's why we call it that. Now this is what? Cross, it's a little bit of combination of cross fiber and pin and move. None of you are listening to me right now, that's okay. I know I've been where you are, but it's like, oh, you can talk, but I'm not listening. And remember that though. It gets a good laugh, but remember that. Because the people you're teaching to, when they're doing something, and it's not just self-massage, when they're in the middle of a high-intensity interval in boot camp and you're trying to tell them what to do with their feet and their ankles and their shoulder and their eyebrows, they're not listening. Because when your nervous system is screaming at you, you can't take in new information. Now, did you notice how you tend to kind of want to work your way up your leg? This kind of happens naturally as you start to wiggle. So by the time we're done with this, you crawl back and forth, you're close to your hips. Sheetha's just lying down having a nap. That's good. She's just ready to go to sleep. And so I'll just mention this. In general, with especially the very significant meaty part of the leg, we want to massage from the distal parts of the body towards the proximal parts of the body. So the stuff farther away towards the center. Because of the way your veins are in your leg. So your veins bring blood back to your heart. That means they have valves that say, open this way, not this way. So when stuff's going this way, it says, yes, I'd let you through. When it tries to go this way, it says, no, I'm not going to let you through. But now if I start to massage hard, if I start at the hip and go really hard down towards the knee, what I do is I wind up pushing blood against that, and I can damage some of the valves. So I can contribute to a degradation of my vein health by pushing really hard away from the heart in the lower body. So in general, if we're doing really hard massage for the lower extremities, you want to move toward your heart. That's the crawling baby. The folded leg, outer thigh with the ball. This one is a much easier way to work on. It's mostly, so if we say the outer thigh, this looks just like last night, right? Pretty much. My shorts were up here. So we're pretty much in the outer part of the quad. We don't really, it's not terrible to do a little bit of soft IT massage, but we probably don't want to kill it. Because it really is just connective tissue, and it's not actually good for it to do really nasty, deep, hard massage on the IT band. A couple cases where that's not true. Sometimes the hamstring can get kind of stuck to it, and usually a massage therapist will go in there with her thumb and do that. And I know this because it happened to me once. It's like, what's wrong with it? And she got in there, and I've never felt pain like that as far as massage. I mean, I've had other things hurt worse, but you don't want that to happen. And the hamstring somehow gets stuck to your IT band. But we don't want to kind of jam the IT band. So we're kind of on the outer part of the quad more than the IT band. Okay. So you take your ball, and this is a much easier way to do what we just did. So some of the work for the person who's having trouble being up on the shoulders, you just bend your knee. So we just fold the leg and push. Just like we did for the outer part of the calf. You can get some decent pressure. It's more of it's not so much a roll and a hold, it's more just a hold. So you kind of already know maybe where your tender areas are. If you're not sure, just push, no, move the ball, push, no, move the ball, yep, got one. And then you find one, you just push and then release. So push, and when you've had about that 20-second threshold, you release. Why do we have the 20-second threshold? Well, because that's kind of where we get the most neurological effect. At about the 20-second mark, that's when the nervous system starts to go, oh, okay, I'll calm down now. And you can actually feel it happen. Sometimes it happens a little earlier than 20 seconds, sometimes a little later. But you can feel the response when you get that point where it starts to go, I'm going to get a little less intense. I'm going to soften. And then you can lift it, take a break, come back down, do another round, or pick a new spot. So that's how we do the folded leg outer thigh. And the inner quad with the ball, and this is fairly straightforward. We do a little bit of a roll and hold here. We're mostly working on the vastus medialis muscle. That's the one that's just that smaller of the quad ones. That's that guy right there. Should have just worn my shorts from last night. Would have made more sense, huh? I was scared to sit down in those things, believe me. It's like, is this going to rip right open? And so we do a little bit of a roll and hold on that muscle. Just kind of roll and find your tender spot if you have one. Ooh, see, I had a pretty bad tender spot on this leg a couple days ago, and I started working on it. It's gone. I can't find it anymore. I made myself a believer in my own content. How about that? Practice what you preach. And we can do a little bit of a pin and spin if it feels good. It's not up on there, so it's a little bonus for actually showing up. A little bit of a pin and spin. All right, switch sides. Glute. Here we go. And roll and hold to find your tender spot. Keep my butt on the floor, cross my arms, hug myself to open up the tissue, and then drop my head. Just letting gravity and the weight of the upper half of my upper body provide the resistance or the leverage. So this is my pin and move. So a little bit of underneath the shoulder blade work. The chest with the roller and the ball. It can be a little tricky. I most often will do this on a doorway with the ball. I almost never do this on a roller on the floor, but in a big group like this, it's the only way we have to do it. So we kind of find your pec area you need to work on and just sink the ball into it. And just, if you have a tender area here, you will know almost immediately. It's not, you don't usually have to hunt around for it on your pectoral muscle. So if you're trying to find a spot that hurts, you probably don't need to worry about it. Now, usually at an event like this, Sunday morning, you've done a push-up or 400 during the course of the 3 days, or 2 days, so you could need a little bit of this work. Okay, so there's the chest with the roller, we got shoulder next to the rotator with the ball. And for that one, we put the ball right. So if you do your arm here, it's on the back of the shoulder. So the rear deltoid area, not really on the back, it's the back of the shoulder. That's where the ball goes. Drop down. And pressure. Rotate the arm. The ball will roll a little bit. It's not strictly pinning and moving the ball. The ball's going to move just a little bit, but it mostly stays in place. So what's nice about some of this work is it can restore extensibility of the tissue. And specifically in the shoulder, our external rotators slow down internal rotation. So if we get heavily restricted external rotators, now I play volleyball, or I play tennis, or I do something where I'm throwing a ball aggressively. So I'm explosively and with high force internally rotating my arm. What's hitting the brakes on that, what's holding that back, stopping the arm, is my external rotators. And if they're like steel cables, you know what happens if you have a steel cable, there's a bunch of steel cable up and someone drags it, boom, it just stops, and it's very shocking to the anchoring tissues. If it's elastic, it starts to slow down slowly and it comes to a nice controlled stop. So we want to restore extensibility in those tissues so that when you're throwing something, your external rotators can stretch to slow down the force rather than just go bang and shock all those tissues. So that's the benefit of having that nice relationship between your internal and external rotators. All right, there's a quick run through of the upper body movements. Now tomorrow I'm doing a post-con intensity. Got actually 3 people in the room that were here last year. The first one I launched it here last year at Asia Fitness Convention. In a nutshell, it's brain science meets exercise. It changes the emotional response.
Being totally honest, I feel like this is a little bit of a tough sell because we're talking psychology, right? And we're in the fitness industry. And people come to us because they want
a partner in front of them. Make sure you're all paired up evenly. There's 3 things we look at when we look at what's wrong. Me and Dr. Trevor, we didn't spend a lot of time with assessments because the tires have air. Same thing with your body. Mechanical insufficiency, something's happening here, it's not moving right. What about his tissue? These need to be able to move. The biggest problem with tendonitis when people have elbow, wrist pain, you think of this is your tendon, right? This is your muscle, the belly of the muscle. Now, this should be rubbery. And these tendons are like rope. When I pull rope, it's like me pulling his arm. It's not gonna move. Partner's laying down straight like this. We have him lift his head. You're all healthy, we can do this. Ask permission. Can I touch the back of your head? Remember, you're doing this on your family, friends. Lift your head. I'm just gonna hold it. And just feel the weight of the head, right? Some people, these muscles are contracted, SCM's contracted, the head's gonna feel lighter, right? Just hold it, I'm just holding it. Cradling his head. When you guys bend your knees for me. Okay. Oh, wow. I'm still touching his head and neck. Things changed. The neck has changed completely. Muscles all gotten softer. What I'm doing, I'm just putting his head in the palm of my hand. A lot of you will shake when you do this for the first time. It's kind of nerve-wracking. But look, just relax your hands on the bed and just feel the neck. What I'm doing with my fingers, you guys can see on either side, I'm giving him support, right? Palm of my hand is holding back of his skull. Fingers are just touching his neck, and I'm just holding. Do you feel comfortable? Not too bad, right? So the big thing with the partners, the clients, you tell the trainer, how do you feel, right? If you don't feel supported by my hands, he'll tell me. Now then we're gonna do something else. This is all part of the practice we're gonna do in a few minutes. I'm gonna move his head to one side. I'm gonna hold his head with one hand. Right? It seems simple right now, we're all doing this. But I'll tell you now, a lot of you will feel uncomfortable doing this because you haven't done it before. Feel comfortable? Feels good, right? Supported, you don't feel like I'm gonna lose you. I switch hands, right? Now the whole time I'm feeling the muscles as they change. The reason we do this is, I want you to feel the texture of muscle, right? And you're just touching, remember you asked permission, you're just touching going up the neck, and feeling the differences between all the people you work on today. So once again, you're gonna have to lie down, legs straight. Okay. Heads like this, you guys can lift your head. I'm gonna put my hand underneath. Look, I'm just holding. Fingers go on either side of the neck, support. Touching, feeling. Switch from one hand to the other and ask for feedback. Okay, so it's all in a line. You're practicing on each other right now, right? You can do it with a lacrosse ball, you can do it with your finger. If it's your family and friends, do it with your finger. The big thing today is you're gonna feel all these muscles. We have classes, like I said, everyone feels, by the end of the day, they're all sore because you work on everyone, but you also feel how much pressure you need to do on a person. So, I'm gonna stand here just so it's easier. He lifts his arm, trap contracts, right? You guys all see that? Anyone can see his trap. Even if I don't move his shirt, you guys know where his trap is. I take my thumb, this is all muscle. Who came to my first class where I taught you how to find the scapula? Remember, we did landmarks, right? So find the scapula, this is the muscle. I put my thumb here, and all he does, bring his arm from this position, and bring it down just like that. That's all. And I'm just gonna hold the muscle like I said before. Just gonna hold the muscle. Just gonna bring his arm down and across. I'm putting a little bit of pressure and come back. You feel it, right? Just like that. 3 to 5 times. Use it with a lacrosse ball. The beauty of what I'm teaching is you can do it. I can have him with a lacrosse ball leaning against the wall and do it. Right? It's up to you what you want to do. Same thing. Watch again. Arm up. When you're starting off, you're going to do it a little bit slow. I look at the arm. I look at the muscles contracted. Put my thumb there. I'm just going to hold it down. And he's going to bring his arm across. Okay? That's it. That's the whole movement. Show him again from the front. His arm is sideways, down, and across. You can do it seated, standing up. You guys are doing it standing up today. Just like that. Just to feel the muscle. Don't put too much pressure. Good. Line up. Let's see. And feel that muscle. Feel the muscles change. Right? Feel that. Now, what if you turn your head this way? Right? Everything comes up. You feel that? That's your SCM hands. Right? It's so easy finding yourself. Now, what if I told you same thing? Find your clavicle with both hands. Okay? And then you're all going to do this. You're going to go this with your mouth. That's your platysma. That's another muscle to work on. Go like this. Let's see who shows up on the best. Ah, right here. Come here. Ha. Show them your thing. Look what he's doing. He's just holding. He does it. Pop. Right? That's causing a lot of neck pain. Sometimes when people hear cracking, they're like, oh, my bones are cracking. Did you know if your muscles are moving right, you can actually hear cracking? Right? If you're moving your arm, the tendons are moving right, you hear cracking. Okay? So now if you can find the muscles, you know where things are originating from. Okay? So now you found the SCM. Awesome. That was easy. Now how do you self-release the SCM? Think about it. I know the SEM turns my head like this, right? So what if I hold down that muscle while I turn my head? You feel that? Right? You feel that pull? Just turn. Now, the second muscle we found, when you run like this with your jaw, you can actually hold down both sides like this, and just bring your head back. Right? So simple. What if you could just tell your client, do those things, and help the neck pain? They're not going to hurt themselves. He did it kind of weird. He was choking himself like this. I wouldn't do it like this. I would do it like this, just to be safe. Can the trainer release the SEM? If you can do it on yourself safely, you can do it on your clients. You can do it on your family. So today, you're going to do that. You're going to find on your partner, trainer still in the back. All the clients are going to turn around. Okay? I want the trainers to focus on this. Remember, we know where his skull is, right? We know where his ears are. And I can feel a giant bone right here. You guys can tell the difference between bone and muscle just by the texture. If you eat a T-bone steak, you know which is the bone. If you eat a piece of chicken, same thing in a human. I know it sounds bad. But bone is harder than muscle. Okay. Now, I also know from anatomy, you guys are going to get anatomy books for free. I'm going to give it to you on our website. It's stuff, we just have pictures, high definition. Oh, I got in trouble. I didn't tell you guys. My book was such high, how do you say, DPI, that they weren't able to upload it, so you have to go to our site. It's 110 megabytes because the pictures are so nice. But then you can actually see what the muscles are. Now, he's awesome with the shaved head. You can see the skull, right? You can see. I don't even need to touch him. I know just by here, this is where the muscles are. So you're going to take your client. You're going to take your time. Be nice. Gentle, with 3 fingers, not like this, no claw grips. I'm going to feel the ear, go down and feel the bone, and go to the middle and just feel the muscles. That's all. Right? And we go all the way around to the other ear. Okay? Thank you. Trainers, do it now. The cool thing is, when you're holding their heads and they're lying down, and my fingers are like this, cradling the head. Remember, I'm cradling the head. All I do is take my fingers, I put it like this. Right? And I'm holding the head. And just by holding those muscles with my hand and doing a little pull, 2 pounds, that's all it takes. 2 pounds is like ripping a grape. No, not less than that. What's something like that? I don't know. You take a piece of bread and you try to rip apart a piece of bread. That's how much pressure you're doing. Your neck doesn't need that much of a pull. These muscles are so small. I take my hands and I just pull towards my body with enough pressure to rip a piece of bread. A loaf of bread. Right? You can do it on your clients right now. So find I probably picked the wrong person. I don't like this stretch. Okay. Look at him for a second. Or he's going to show both of us. Can everyone see him? Okay. All he's going to do is stand on his heels like that. See this muscle pop up? Yep. That's your two. That's third. Awesome, right? Easy. Face me. Stand on your toes. Face me. Do you guys know what that muscle is? If you don't know, you're screwed.
Oh.
Gastro. I'm going to show you a release right now. Lie down, face up. Can everyone see? If you can't, move closer. Make sure your people behind you can see. If you're in the front, kneel down. Okay. So we have people run ultra marathons in our clinic, right? When you do an ultra marathon and you're constantly pounding your feet, who is someone we saw the other day? She runs leaning back. Oh, he's terrible. Okay, so he's gonna lift his toe like this. See how the muscle pops up right away? No problem with that. I'm not gonna teach you guys how to find this because this is pointless. Now, all I'm gonna do is this. Leg is straight. Like this. Take my thumb, where the biggest part of the muscle is, that big belly. Works on everyone with shin splints, it's amazing. I'm gonna hold down. Now, if you have a scale at home, what I teach people is 10, 15 pounds of pressure, learn by pushing down on the scale. How much pressure you do. In our book, we tell you how much pressure we do. Today, 5 pounds of pressure. So if you're taking a piece of chicken, you're deforming that chicken, you see your fingerprint on there. He's gonna bring his toe up, and when I say go, you're gonna bring your toe down. Like this. Ballerina. Ballerina stands on his tippy toes, right? Yeah. Down. And the cool thing is, I just move my finger up and down that big piece of muscle.
No, just on one part.
Yeah, I can move it all the way down, right, even up to here. The thing is, when you guys look at the picture, that's when we have high definition pictures. Look how far that muscle goes, right? So if you understand that picture, you don't need to worry about what the name of this muscle is. You need to know this muscle is what's affected when you have shin splints. So if someone goes, oh, I have shin splints, it doesn't mean anything. It's an overall diagnosis. That's why we don't tell you diagnoses. Only certain type of people need diagnosis. It's your doctor, physical therapist, chiropractor, even massage therapist. You guys you don't need to worry about that, because if they're having pain in their shin splints and shin, you do this movement. Your only goal is to relieve that pain, right? You're not trying to figure out what their drug protocol is, all these things. Same thing, toes up, I see it contract, put my finger down, have them bring down just like that. Now, when I say we teach you things, we don't go into major detail, because as you practice more and more, you find what position is right for you, right? Some of you are smaller, some of you are bigger. Like my hand, I can just hold down with one finger. Someone that's smaller, I might use one finger on top. I might use 2 fingers. If he's a giant leg, I would put 2 fingers and have him move up and down. Okay, everyone line up again. We're good. Get up.
The whole team is doing suicides. Okay. Here. Down. Just let it flow. Just let it flow. Ready? Come on now, let's do this one. This is the one right here. Get up. Yes. Down. Okay, ready? Pretty good. You can do better though. Come on now. Come on, get up. Down, 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 down. Yes. One more time, just like that. Off you go. That's it. Up, up, up. All right, good. Now, here's what I want you to do. Rest for a second. How many people thought masses and spaces before you came up? Yeah, because everyone's like, right. So apply what you've learned. Think masses and spaces before you even come up the ground. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to take our feet, put them shoulder width apart. I want you to dig little holes. Dig little holes, right? Good. So dorsal flex those toes. Now I want you to flex your quadriceps. Let the knees come off the ground. All right, good. We're going to create tension in our quads. All right. Then what I want you to do is clench your butt as tight as you can, trying to make diamonds from coal. Your hands are on train tracks. Your arms are on train tracks. Your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. Think masses and spaces and come up and off the ground. Come on up. Good, as tight as you can. Hold your body as tight as you can. And we're just gonna do this for 6 minutes. Come on, go on down. Rest, rest, rest. All right, now, one of the things we talk about, there's 2 things. I wanna talk about this idea of apples, not applesauce. And I gotta say, when I looked out there, I saw a whole lot of applesauce. So Jimmy, come up and give me that plank. So Jimmy is one of our master instructors in China. The first thing, see how he's tight here? I could kick him in the stomach, or better yet, give him the tickle test, and I can't get through, right? That's the first thing, rest for it. The next thing is that, remember I told you to clench up your butt? Your hips are a mass, right? So everybody stand up for a second, except you stay down. Everybody stand up. All right? Think masses and spaces. All right? Chest is a mass, waist is space, neck is a space, hips are a mass. And I want you to think especially about this hip mass right now. Clench up your butt as tight as you can. Take your fist, punch your butt, your own butt. Good. What do you feel? Apples, not applesauce. All right? So now we apply that to the ground. Jimmy, come on up. Just take a knee if you're really close to me, so the people behind you can see. All right? Those are apples, right? Give me applesauce. That's applesauce. See the difference? So you are going to do the test with your partner, try and see if they got apples or applesauce. All right? Off you go. With your hands, bring this leg off the ground just a little bit. Just a smidge. So bring it up. Good. Just a bit. Get over. That's it. Get this leg off the ground. All. Close. Close. Try and make it longer. Good. That's better. That's better than it was before. Let's try the other side. Good. Try and reach back as far as you can. That side's getting there. Good. Bring it down. That's so we can get both sides up. Good. You can see it. Look at that. Right there. All right. You got to reach. What you're trying to do here is trying to create as much length as you can. So think about reaching your leg back and then off the ground just a little bit to try and create that tightness. And you'll probably get it. Okay, let's try it with everybody. Especially if you had somebody who was like, hey, so. Wait a minute, you got a bunch of kids in front of you, want to impress them, you're going to bend the bar this way. Right? So if you bend the bar, what happens to those lats? They fire up. If we were on the ground, we won't be able to actually move our hands. We'll have to pull our elbows in. It's almost as though we had a stability ball underneath us. We're trying to squish it with our elbows. Okay? Let's try that. Front plank. Hand plank. Come up. Hip width apart. Tight quads. Apples on applesauce. Do you have your masses and spaces? Would you pass the tickle test? And now squeeze that bar. Bend that bar as hard as you can. Create as much tension as you can. Don't let that back hunch up. Come down here. And rest. Okay. So now we've got a plank, right? Now with that plank, was the back nice and flat? Wasn't rotating at all, was it? It was perfect. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play with that a little bit. All right, so let's have them come up into a plank. Watch closely. Bring your hands a little bit closer together. So this time our plank is going to be kind of like thumb width apart. All right? So just like that. You're going to come up hard. Actually, just rest for a second on the shoulders for a minute and up back. All right, watch close. As you come up into this hard plank and you're set, all I want you to do is touch, come back down, keep squeezing, touch, and come back down. Did you notice there wasn't any shifting, moving, rotating? Coaches, here's what you're going to do. So let's try that. He's going to come up, set that plank hips down, you're going to frame up their shoulders right here. Give them about an inch above and away, so 2 centimeters. Now, touch one, don't touch one. Good. Don't touch one. Come back down. If they touch you, they're going to know that they've slipped and slide and moving. Now, you got to give them a little bit of room to move, and he's doing an excellent job. Good. Charlie, he's quiet. His butt's still switched on. His lats are going. Perfect. Well done. All right, so coaches, stand there, frame up their back, just like this. Give them about an inch laterally and an inch vertically. And if they touch you, that's going to be their cue. Think of it as electric fencing, right? If they touch you, that's your cue that they've started to rotate, translate, and move, and they're trying to control that all with their core. All right? It's the changing conditions of the plank. Let's give it a try. Boom, and then can I come back? Same way. Little steps. Apply all that plank stuff, but now we're starting to push and pull at the same time. All right? Go. Give yourself some room. Make sure you got space to move. Good now. All right, is their back flat? They should be able to. I ought to be able to put a ball right there, and it should, no, don't you hold it. Yeah, keep it. Slow and control. Slow and control, and come over. All right? Did you everybody try it? Excellent. So, stand up again. I'm going to give you another trick. One of the things that we can watch for, so we talked about masses and spaces. Masses and spaces is an amazing cue just to watch the whole body move. Because if they lose the mass, what happens if I lose my chest mass? Well, now I'm in core posture. Is this going to be a powerful way to do anything? No. If I maintain my chest mass, now I might move through it as I'm reaching. Right? If I go to reach here, I kind of lost my chest mass on this side, but then as long as I come back through it, I'm going to be all right. So it's a dynamic thing, masses and spaces. But it's a great kind of global, quick way to look at movement in general, especially obviously from the hips up. Another way is, okay, Jimmy, we'll use you. Right, tuck your shirt. And say take it off. Jimmy. I said, don't pull it up. Not Mr. Rogers. Just keep it nice, large, square, long. Okay. Turn around this way. Now, by tucking this shirt in, I now have a line right here, a reference line. Right? We've got a reference line across his hips. And if we drew a line from here to here, right? We if those two lines stay, the distance between them stays the same, I know that he's maintaining his torso very, very well. If those lines start to narrow this way, I know that he's losing posture from side to side. Yeah? Right? So if you were to side bend, see how that line, those lines are now like this? See how it just happened? Try and go the other way. Right? So there's nothing wrong with that as a movement, but we want to come back through. What happens if he was doing a step? Just do a high step, just do a high step. Oh, okay, so two things happen there. See how this happened? All right, so we want to keep those, it level. Sometimes people will do it like a big hip hike. What happens if they do a hip hike? Those lines start to change. You see how that's really valuable? Especially if you've got someone who's got like writing across their back. It gets really, really easy because you can see the line. Real simple. The other thing that happens, what happens if these two lines do this? Right, no, like that. Don't make me do it. All right, so let's do this. I want you to put your hands over your head. All right? I want you to watch those two lines. Can you put your feet a little wider apart? Good. And let's have you squat down as low as you can go. Oh, stop. See what just happened? Come on back up. Come on back up. Okay, so look at the length of these two lines. Ready? Down, down, down. Oh. See how they're starting to lengthen? Come on back. That's that butt wink that we talked about, and what it gives you is a good reference point to tell you exactly when the butt wink starts to happen. All right, so we could say, all right, that's where Jimmy runs into his hips, and he can go deeper. But the only way he can go deeper is by pulling his pelvis underneath. Now, at some point, everybody will pull their pelvis underneath. That's part of doing a deep, deep squat. However, we can start to train that a little bit, create some mobilizations in his hips at that range, and it gives you a really good reference point of when it happens. So when we think about advanced coaching, one of the ways to do it is with advanced tools, right? But advanced tools need to be simple. Simple, like masses and spaces, like this length between the shoulder blades and the hips. So these are assessment tools that you can use in real time as you're watching people move to give you an indication of, oh, they're not controlling their hip in the lateral plane of motion. Or they have a butt wink that starts earlier than I'd like to see it, right? So these are reference points that help you coach, and then you can try and cue and teach out of it. Does that make sense at all? All right, so what I want you to do is with your partner, take about 2 minutes and just do that athletic position. All right, this is especially great for squats, especially if you see people going valgus in their squats. All right, think about, if you're standing on newspaper right now, what could you do? What would you do if I said you have to tear the newspaper in half with just your feet? What would you do? You press and then do what? Push. Put your thumb on your butt. And now press and push. What do you feel? Glute activation, right? Okay, so now, if I think about spread the paper as I drive, and then get my knees to go apart, and so I'm stripping the paper, I'm slapping the thighs on the way down. What does that look like? It looks like that same drill we did when I was getting to slapping the thighs. All right? If I bring it up high, that is fun. Look where I end up. It's exactly the same thing as what we did right on the front end. So these swing thoughts apply all the way through. That's one of the best ones I have for a hinge. When you think about a pull, anytime you pull, especially bilateral, but even unilateral, if I'm going to pull, what's the first thing I'm going to think about right here? I'm going to think about bending the bar. If I bend the bar, what's going to happen? My lats engage. I bend the bar, I can drive up, through. Same thing. Bend the bar. Works the same as with a pull-up. My arms are overhead here, and I think about bending the bar. My shoulders come down, my lats engage, and now all of a sudden, I can do that without impinging my shoulder at all. One of the cool things about kipping pull-ups is that we end up here, but that loads everything, and what happens on the other side of it? I get a natural bend of the bar. Right? So if you can coach a kip, what you're actually doing is coaching a bar bend in a dynamic pull setting. All right? Having rope weights, we don't have any ropes here because someone else is using them, but if I think about this movement here, how many people do you know do battle ropes like they're drumming? That's not good. Just down, just on one knee if you're real close to it, just so people behind you can see. All right? People do battle ropes and their arms are extended like this. How long can they do that for? Not very long. Right? Like 40 seconds. You want to learn how to do battle ropes properly? Do it for 20 minutes in a row. Train yourself to do it for 20 minutes in a row. And what you'll learn is actually how to be efficient and how to turn that movement into a pull. Now right now you're all thinking, this dude is nuts. 20 minutes in a row of battle ropes? Try 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, do it 20 times. If you can do that, you can do a 45-15. If you do that, you can do 50-10. Do that, you can do 55-5. Do that, you can do 150-10. Only 10 times now. Do that, you do 250-10. 350-10, you do that 5 times, now you're ready to do the full 20 minutes. But what will happen is, because of the fatigue, you'll actually learn how to turn it into a pull. You'll get here, it's just a pull. Right? That is a flat movement. Bit of anterior shoulder, bit of chest, lat rotation. You'll be able to go for a long time. If you don't do that, you'll never work it out. So you're going to use battle ropes, try and give yourself that challenge. It's an excellent one. You'll learn how to turn it into a pull. All right, with a squat, we already talked about that idea of spreading the floor, applying the plank mechanics, right? Because everything we learned about with the plank applies to the squat as well. All right, obviously we have this pretty short session, and this is meant to be a long one, and that one's there. But at the end of the day, chase the movement. Chase the movement, not the exercise. If you coach the foundational movement the way we've been talking about in here, then the exercise will just come. You'll be good. But remember, trainers are for horses. Coaches are for people, and you're a coach. If you come at your stuff like a coach, you'll change your practice completely. Thank you so much.